It is Tuesday, September 16th, 2025. And tonight, Shane is off, and we are going to just do a couple hours of calls. So, welcome to Inverted World Live. What is up, everybody? I am your producer and co-host for IWL, Brandon Miner. Thanks for being here tonight. Like I said, Shane is off, but I do have a very special guest host in the house. Say what's up, everybody. Ian Crossland is here. Ian.
Let's get twisted.
All right. So we're going to do this kind of like we did last time, where we just let everybody call in and we just take as many calls as we can. We haven't been able to get to everybody. The last week or so has been crazy, obviously, and we haven't really talked too much the last week or so. How are you feeling?
No, pretty good, man. I mean, up and down.
Yeah.
Like extremes. Have you been feeling? Yesterday I was really down from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. and then I did a sauna, and then I just started to feel, I watched IRL and I just started to feel really good. Friends,
yeah,
hearing friends' voices, came back out of it. There's just it's like this.
It has been kind of roller coaster-ish. I got to give it to you.
How you been?
Hanging in there. It's been a very weird week, obviously for a lot of people. Very terrible couple of weeks in general for the country, and just trying to get back to going with the flow of things,
Yeah.
New information coming in every day about all kinds of stuff, trying to figure out where the future of everything lies and where we're going to head. It's been pretty crazy, but the show's been great. A lot of people have been calling in, sharing their opinions on stuff, giving us their stories, and the support's been up in the community. So big up to you guys. Outside of that, did anything else been up, man? You've been
No, you playing Magic much?
I got to get all of my cards out of Chicago.
Oh.
They're in some unmarked box that got left there. I thought I brought them down with me. Oh. So I have nothing here.
Oh, we're going to rock so hard.
I've got to get my decks down
here. Let's play.
But yeah, you've been doing that lately? Or?
Yeah, Tim and I have been knocking around doing this show we were talking about too, like a new gaming show. So I was getting ready to go to that, and then the news obviously last week about Charlie has had me broken for a week. I'm just settling, and I'm I can't wallow. I don't want to wallow in grief. So, but just to feel the pain and it's coming in waves. I'll be reminded about him that he's dead, and that's it does not seem real sometimes. I made the mistake. I think it was a mistake last night of rewatching the last show I did with Charlie, which was last December. We did it Turning Point. They had us out there to do Timcast IRL, and me and Charlie were sitting on stage together next to each other talking, and I watched it for 5 minutes, and I got really sad because it was he's locked in time. That's who he is now, and that's who he will be to everyone that remembers him as the 31-year-old version of himself, and he would have been somebody else at 41, and it's just hard to see.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. It's funny because the last couple of weeks too, me and Kellen was actually talking to me about those shows, and he's super stoked for me to go to one. He's like, dude, you got to get out there this year. We got to bring you out. You're gonna love it. It's crazy, and just telling me all about the kind of guy that Charlie was and how awesome he was. Stayed behind to make sure everybody was all good with everything, and just super selfless. And it was just crazy. A couple weeks later, we're already discussing man, I guess that's it's not going to be a thing anymore.
Well, we may very well do it again. Who knows where the future lies, but if it goes, I'm sure we'll have an invite.
I feel like it has to go on. I feel like it has to, but it's just not, obviously it's never going to be the same without Charlie. So, no. But big up. Welcome to everybody who's joining us. If you came over from IRL, or if you're just stopping by, thanks for hanging out. We are going to, I just threw the links up in chat. We are going to do just calls for the duration of the night. There's no set topic. Shane's out. He's feeling a little under the weather, so show him some love on all platforms. Get him a hit up. Let him know he's good.
And along that, I've been massively exhausted too. Have you been? I have been forcing myself to rest.
You know what? Honestly, I mean, well, not for lack of trying. We were super busy last week, and we had the Boonies had another skate event and everything like that. So I skated the entire day with the pros over there, put a good 6-7 hours in skating, and it was just flatlined the entire like whole weekend, just like out of it, so tired. So that too, like trying to get back on with all this fatigue and whatever, but I feel like I'm sleeping later too, and it sucks.
Yeah, I noticed that. Up till 1, then I sleep till 10, and then I'm up till 2, and I sleep till 11. I'm like, I got to curb this before it gets out of control.
Yeah. Well,
welcome to late nights, ladies and gentlemen.
See, and I'm kind of like a night owl too, so it's like I honestly I don't mind being up later. Like that's kind of my thing, but it's like as soon as I see the sun coming up, I'm like I'm out.
Yeah, yeah. That biorhythm.
That's it for me.
That sunlight's so good for you.
All right, so let's get on. We got a caller in here. Looks like Jeff is here. Let's get on the phone with him. And again, everybody, this is a call-in show. Feel free to hit the link, jump in. We can discuss whatever you guys want tonight. Feelings on what's going on in the country, ghost stories, phenomenon, all kinds of stuff like that. Right now, we are on with Jeff back in Chicago. Jeff, what's up? All right. So let's get on. We got a caller in here. Looks like Jeff is here. He's breaking the number one rule of podcasting right now, and that's he's got it streaming in the background.
I think you got to mute your speaker. Put some headphones in.
Jeff, are you there?
Oh, hey, what's going on?
You sound like you're in an echo chamber.
Yeah, why do you sound like you're inside of a bucket? Like, what's happening?
God damn it. God damn it.
Are you like the natatorial? Oh, hey there.
You hear me? Well, fuck. Hold on. You know what? Go to somebody else. Go to somebody else. Dude.
Yeah.
I got to fucking.
Yeah, just quit and rejoin.
Figure out my shit here.
Yeah,
got this.
I got you.
That was awesome.
That was Jeff calling live from the Hadron Collider.
Did you ever have an indoor swimming pool? Did you ever hang out at one of those growing up?
A couple of them, yeah. Like how
like
it sounded in like the that was we had one of those in high school, and that's exactly how it sounded.
Like the water.
Yeah,
there's something about the flow.
No, I'm pretty sure he was probably just in his garage. But so let's go to LJ.
What's up, dude?
LJ, you're on the show. If you can unmute your mic and say what's up.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey, how you doing?
You know it.
I'm doing well. I figured I'd just call in and I know everybody's basically on the same page with the whole Charlie Kirk thing, but I wanted to point out that there are vigils and memorials and all kinds of things going on all over the country. And not all of them are solely for Charlie. Some of them are, solidarity expressions for Erica and the kids. And I wanted to see what you guys think about the actual implications of what happened with Charlie. It seems to be the case that the moderate right died with him.
First thing it implied was my brain was like risk management is the first thing my brain goes to is in this world, standing out in the open in big crowds as a political influencer. It's so easy to get famous with this technology without being rich, without having the money to afford security. And I think someone was just telling me the Romans actually made fame a punishment. It wasn't good for
everyone. As a burden, yeah.
And I'm just looking at how to navigate popular social life in a more articulate manner. I mean,
that's probably the way to go forward because, Charlie said it all the time. When the conversation stops, the fighting starts.
Yeah, we have to keep communicating. The day after Charlie died, I made a video, and I haven't been making a lot of personal videos until that. And then I just kept doing it every day, and I have done it every day since. And I think that's the real antidote is to just get involved with the social discourse, put your voice online, become part of the communication, the mass consciousness.
Yeah, where I'm at here in Oregon, this upcoming Saturday, we're having a vigil and memorial for Charlie. We're going to have a couple of speakers, some live music. We're going to have a minister say a prayer, have people talk about how Charlie influenced their life.
Where is this going down at in case anybody out in the audience is in the area and wants to attend?
In La Grande, Oregon. That's northeast Oregon, up in the Blue Mountains. Not a huge place, but there's quite a large conservative community around here. And with everything going on, I think it's just really important to try to remind everybody of the message that Charlie was putting forward, which was if the conversation stops, the fighting starts. And the fact of the matter is, there's just no positive outcome if we can't have a continued discourse, because the last time we fought each other, it was the worst casualties we've ever seen.
Yeah, and that, if you're talking about the American Civil War, that actually came up earlier tonight. I've been thinking a lot about that. They called it Civil War. It was just the country broke in two and then fought a conventional war. It wasn't what a real Civil War is with, snipers in the buildings. And
yeah, well, and like Tim talks about a lot on IRL, there were, when it was happening, people didn't think that there was a civil war happening. They were having picnics out in the fields. They just didn't believe it. And the devastation that a reaction like that would cause today, with the sheer volume of ability at people's beck and call, is terrifying. And I think that's what Charlie was trying so hard to avoid, is if this crap hits the fan, then it'll be so much worse than the first time around.
yeah, I honestly, it's like we're done with the whole split in half and then send armies thing. That's not on the books. The domestic, like I was watching Martyr Made. It's Daryl Cooper. He does a show with Scott Horton, and it's called Provoked. It's their new show. It's great. It's on YouTube. Daryl Cooper was saying, like, Civil War is fought in basements with blowtorches and a guy tied to a chair. It's did mom make it home from the grocery store? It's just order is so important. And obviously we talk about evil order, like order becoming evil, lawful evil, whatever. Order, if it fails, people will scream and beg for it in whatever form they can find. And a lot of times that comes with the most horrible, brutal man in charge. And we got to do everything we can to make a better world.
Absolutely. And I think that's the real message that, one of the things Charlie said he wanted to be remembered for was his faith. And I think that's going to be the guiding principle, is that we are a nation built on Christian morals and ethics and values. And that's what founded our nation. That's what's carried us this far. And that's what will get us through this, is just a profound reawakening of that Christian ethic, that love thy neighbor, hate the sin, not the sinner,
Yeah. What's that?
And Charlie was good at getting that message across.
I want to ask
a lot of people.
Sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm going to ask you after you make your thought. What is your favorite virtue? But I mean, if you had more to say before you want to answer that, please.
Oh, no, not at all. My favorite virtue would just be honesty, because everything else comes out of that.
Well,
everything else precipitates from honesty.
It's actually not a virtue in the Catholic faith.
Is it not?
No, it's not. Virtue and deceit, or honesty and deceit, are not virtues and sins in the Catholic sense, which is I always thought was odd too, because I always thought being honest was such an integral part. But I guess they understood the value of deceit, like the founding fathers had to deceive the tyrant in order to make a better world, and maybe they realized. Huh. Yeah, I thought that was strange.
It seemed kind of intuitive that honesty was a virtue.
No, it's not. There's kindness. Kindness and wrath are like the virtue and the sin.
Well, then I think I would say kindness then in that regard, because I think honesty would precipitate from kindness, and everything else comes out of honesty.
So I wanted to write down like all the virtues. Are you familiar with and these are just Catholic virtues, obviously every virtue, but there's like chastity, there's diligence.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with them formalized. Yeah.
Yeah, diligence, temperance.
You have these memorized?
Yeah, I played a lot of Crusader Kings too, and your character would have virtues and sins as like character attributes, and depending on what faith you were part of, it might be. So like in some faiths, a certain attribute may be considered a sin, whereas in another faith, it's considered a virtue. Where like in Islam, there's a gluttony. Well, I don't want to start talking out, but like certain things are looked on positively. I was going to say like in Islam, it's like decadence is horrific. Decadence is like one of the worst things you can do. And if your family members are decadent, it's like abhorrent to the faith. Whereas in Christianity, it's not an issue at all. Decadence, really.
Well, decadence is kind of like greed in the Christian lens, isn't it?
Greed
Or gluttony.
or gluttony, maybe. And so the opposite of greed would be charity. Charity is a virtue. Temperance, diligence, chastity. What are the other ones here? Kindness. That's the opposite of wrath. I know somebody in chat knows the rest of these. That's 5 of them. Chastity, diligence, temperance, charity, and kindness. There's 2 more. I'm not a Catholic. But
Yeah, I'm not Catholic myself. I'm kind of a non-denominational.
I've been big into temperance lately, which is self-control.
Yeah, self-control is a big one. I mean, as I say, I think honestly, you can make the argument that honesty would be bred out of self-control, in the sense of not wanting to corrupt yourself.
Yeah, honesty is like, because there's, okay, so this is my path with honesty. I thought I had this like awakening in 2006. I started making YouTube videos. I was like, what would Jesus do if he had YouTube? And I was like, he would make YouTube.
That'd be something to see for sure.
Yeah, he'd make videos and spread the gospel, spread the word. So I was like, well, maybe I can do that. Maybe I can be like him. And so I started to do it. And then I was just rabidly honest, like obsessively honest, to the point where it was destroying my relationships. I couldn't keep a secret. I wouldn't keep a secret. And my friends were like, Ian, I can't even talk to you because you're going to tell everyone what I said. And I'm like, well, I got to be honest. I had to learn over time about, there's a word that indicates it's like you've got to have, what's the word indicating like, there's a word for it. I wasn't expecting to have this conversation. I would have written all this stuff down. But you need to kind of be temperate with your honesty. Like there's a time and a place to say things. So you need to know when to speak, because sometimes not saying anything is different than lying. And of course you might argue that not saying the truth is lying by omission, but often not saying what you're thinking is not necessarily being dishonest.
That's true, and silence can be a powerful tool. I mean, there's been many profound moments in history where silence was the word, and that is really a huge part of self-control, is that ability to know when to bite your tongue and when to speak. And there are many occasions that people will come across in life where it's best to say nothing. Better to be silent and thought a fool than to speak and be proven a fool.
In some situations, though, doesn't that just seem as bad as the lie itself? Like,
Well, if you're
silence
being
considered a
deceitful-
lie if it's not, offered up against
If the
whatever
if
that
the intent
catalyst is?
Yeah, I think if the intent is to be deceitful, then I think that would count as a lie. But if the silence is born out of ignorance, like I don't know, so I won't speak, I don't think that crosses that threshold. I think intent is what really draws the line. So if you're trying to be deceptive, then your silence can be a lie. Or if you're trying to omit information for the purposes of deceiving somebody, then that would be construed as a lie.
It just came up in
But
the chat. Oh, what's that?
I don't think just silence in and of itself necessitates deception.
Yes, it's discretion. That's the word. Someone put it in chat. Thank you so
There
much.
you go.
Discretion. Being discreet is not necessarily lying, not saying what you're
This is true.
thinking. And they've figured that out through time, where like you have a tyrant being like, I demand you tell me, and you say not. I mean, and then even then people would be like, they'd lie, and then that would be the good thing to do because you've deceived the tyrant, and now you can create a better world. Oh, I have another virtue. It's patience. So we've indicated six of the 7 virtues, and humility. Wow. Humility is the opposite of pride. I tend to take issue with humility, and I want to hear what you guys think, because in the United States, so what I think happened is the people of northern Germania, the Vikings and stuff, they conquered England in like 900 AD. They came in, and so the Romans were up there kind of colonizing-ish, the Celts, and then the Vikings went. So the English were sort of a combination of like a Roman Viking energy. They had like the weapon rights of the Vikings, but this order of the Romans. And the Roman Empire eventually realized we can't conquer the earth through military conquest, so let's create a Roman Catholic Church, and we'll try and do it theologically. And then they made the Holy Roman Empire, which was like basically, through the Middle Ages. But they tried with the Catholic Church to go take over England, and eventually England resisted, became the Anglican Church, and some of the pilgrims, the original people that fled, they were called Brownians. They followed this guy Brown. He was like the first guy to ever be imprisoned by the Anglican Church in Europe, in England. And he was much about like speaking out against the church and like worshiping in the way you want to worship. So these people were inspired by him and they fled England to the United States. But once they got here, they realized, and once, 100 years go by, they realized we're going to make a new constitution. And pride is actually not a sin. I don't know. They're not Catholic. They weren't Catholic, so they didn't adhere like pride as a sin, but they actually instilled it as like an American virtue. And I kind of think of like, what's that?
From the religious perspective, it's vain pride that is a sin. It's the vanity part of it, where it's, oh, me, my, mine is the sinful part, not necessarily being proud of something that you're deserving of being proud of. It's more gloating and boastfulness that's kind of the sinful part of it. And I think that was the distinction that a lot of Protestants made, was that you can be proud of a good thing and there's no fault in that. But when you're just endlessly patting yourself on the back undeservedly, I mean, that was the fall of Lucifer. That was, what precipitated all of evil in humanity. It was pride, but it was vain pride. It was, I'm better. I can be better than you. And it's always against something. It's never for something.
Yeah.
So being proud of your actions is important. But like, so putting your name on a billboard, I keep thinking of Trump Towers, is that vanity?
Yeah, that's a bit of vanity, because you're supposed to, everything you're supposed to do from the Christian perspective is to glorify God. And so if you're glorifying self, then that's vanity, because in the idealized version, Trump wouldn't be able to achieve any of the things that he's achieved without God. So he should be putting that honor on God, not on Trump.
And then we see and then we see the value of vanity, how it can propel you to fame and stardom and wealth and power. And it's so integral in the United States. Ford Motor Company, he named the company after himself.
Well, I think that's what made Charlie such a powerful character, is that he was able to build this massive thing, and he never patted himself on the back for it. He always glorified God. He always pointed to God and said, it's because I gave my life to Christ. It's because of this. It's this that allows all this to happen. Constantly, endlessly offering prayer and preaching doctrine where he saw applicable. But you notice he was never trying to convince people in the moment that, oh, you're going to go to hell or whatever like that. It was never damnation. It was always grace. And that same grace is what I think catapulted Charlie to the success that he was able to achieve, to the movement he was able to build. And why people feel the loss so profoundly is because Charlie was never pointing at himself. He was always pointing to something bigger, and it was always for something and not against something.
His wife said, Erica said, every day he would ask her, what can I do for you? How can I serve you better? I've been asking Charlie in my prayers, how can I serve you? And I'm just getting the message that I need to keep doing this, to keep communicating. It's going to be a different answer every time you ask, depending on the situation.
Well, Charlie understood profoundly that we're meant to live our lives in service to others. I mean, the founding of our nation, even when you listen and read to what the founding fathers talked about, it was always in service to the people. We call our public officials, we call them civil servants. It was always set up to be a service to the people from themselves, from their God, as it were, since that's where our inalienable rights come from. And, all those ideas that they presented in our founding documents and in, the Federalist Papers and all that, they're just constantly pointing at something bigger, pointing at something outside of themselves. And Charlie had a great understanding of that. He had a profound grasp on that wisdom, and he used it as a very effective tool to build something amazing. And it's definitely worth remembering. And like Erica said, if they think that this is going to be the end of Charlie's legacy, they're sorely mistaken. They have no idea what they've created.
Yeah, it's like, at the very least, like Martin Luther King, this could be bigger than any of what happened in the 1960s, as it was televised to 700 million people that watched and knew him, personally knew him through his work.
Absolutely. And if I was on a debate on TikTok the other day where they were actually trying to compare side by side the personhood of Martin Luther King Jr. and Charlie Kirk, and Charlie was damn near a saint. I mean, this the craziest part about it is the dude was just an upstanding guy in almost every regard. I scarcely hear of an individual with so few character flaws. And even Martin Luther King Jr. himself had serious character flaws. I mean, I don't want to disparage his name or anything like that because I'm not 100% solid, but there's been rumors for decades about infidelity and womanizing and racism to a certain extent. And again, I'm not 100% certain on that, but in terms of someone like Charlie Kirk, the only people you hear that from are people who have absolutely no evidence to support their claims.
Yeah.
I thought about Charlie. We were watching some of his videos. I was like, he wasn't really nice. And everyone's like, hey. And I'm like, no. He was kind and he was good. But he wasn't like he was a fiery animal that would just give you what he believed intensely, regardless of how it made you feel. Like, he wasn't there to hurt you.
The truth isn't always a comfortable thing to have to explain to somebody, especially if you know you're right. Like, and not even going into morality or anything like that, but just by definition, you're correct and you've got proof to back up that this person is wrong. There's no better way to approach that other than just giving someone a blunt explanation about how they're wrong. I mean, anything else is just coddling. Charlie wasn't like that.
And
Charlie understood that, Scripture talked about using truth as a weapon against the enemy, that it's like pouring hot coals on their head, that they can't stomach it. They can't tolerate it. And so Charlie had a firm grasp of that idea that you can use the truth to dismantle the enemy's position in all manner of ways. And he was definitely not afraid to put the truth as he saw it in full view and unfiltered. And that's how he got so much respect from so many people, is he just wouldn't play the game. Yeah. And that upset a lot of people, but at the same time, it softened a lot of hearts for his position.
Yeah, I don't think nicety, like they say, nice guys finish last. I don't really know if being nice is actually is a good thing necessarily. Maybe there's, in a moment, you might want to be, and to be honest, I don't really even know what the definition of the word.
I mean, I always say don't be a dick, like anything under that. Yeah, sure. Fine. But like, you don't have to be a dick, like that's really like the biggest takeaway I have from anything about living life is just try to mind your business when you can and just don't be a dick. Somebody could be going through a worse time than you are. Somebody could be having a worse life than you are. You don't know what the next person is going through, and life's too short to just be a dick.
And don't be cruel and don't be sadistic. Those are things Charlie was not. He would put the hot coals of truth in the heat of the head, but he wouldn't find joy in their, the cognitive suffering that people would experience when they're realizing this thing. He never seemed, maybe he felt like he was doing some divine will, but I don't think he got any, I never saw him got anything even remotely close to any kind of sadism, which.
Yeah, you notice he never tried to break people. He tried to have honest and genuine conversations with them, and he'd point out the flaws in their reasoning, and he would tell them the truth as he saw it. And then they were free to do with that as they will. He was never like, you're going to listen to me, you're going to hear what I have to say. He would invite them to a conversation and they would participate of their own volition. Whether that ended up being, a fiery exchange or not is kind of beside the point, because Charlie was always extending the olive branch. And we have to make sure that we don't lose that spirit, because I'll just be 100% honest about it, man. I'm absolutely terrified on the avenue this country's headed down right now. It's a scary thought to think about, just the sheer loss of life, the loss of morale, what would come from the fallout. I don't even want to invest too much time thinking about that, because I can't imagine an America cast asunder, and I don't want to, and I don't want the world to have to endure that either.
Do you guys think that, because I'm always like, your thoughts they don't create reality. Your thoughts affect reality. They seem to affect the manifestation of physical things. Your thoughts affect the way you speak, which then directly impact reality, but your thoughts alone and the things you focus on. In fact, I'll say this again, it's a little redundant because I already talked about it, but the day before, Irina Zarutska, I think was her name. She was the Ukrainian refugee that was stabbed in the neck.
Yes.
A couple days before that happened, I was watching Sean Ryan interview with this Vietnam veteran who used to sneak up he snuck up behind like four different Vietnamese enemies and stabbed them in the neck. He was explaining how he would do it, how it goes through this. And trigger warning, if you don't want to hear this, just turn the volume off for about 30 seconds. But he would put the knife in the soft tissue and then push it forward really fast. And he said everything would go out, it'd be silent. And so I just kept thinking about that and visualizing it. And then the Arenia thing happened. She got stabbed in the neck. And then kept thinking about the neck. And then Charlie got shot in the neck. And I'm like,
You're not confusing these for actual manifestations, are you?
I don't know how, because like AJ was saying, it's AJ, yeah? AJ?
LJ.
LJ, thanks, man. Sorry about that one. LJ, thanks. As you were saying, like, I don't want to focus on it too much. I just, like, I don't know if focusing on violence and evil actually produces more of it. I'm not 100% sure.
Well, that's what ties into, like,
It's
shame.
just the human position of pattern recognition. It's built into our biology. It's kept us alive for millennia. We recognize patterns. We look for patterns, and we notice them intuitively because it's part of our biology. And I would say that that's probably more of what you're experiencing than any kind of manifestation.
Yeah.
Oh, that I was part of a greater pattern?
Being tuned into the universe.
That may
Or
be
just
'cause-
noticing it, just noticing the pattern, noticing the uptick and the prevalence of violence, noticing the ever widening political divide and the outcomes that we're seeing from that. And I've watched you for years on Timcast, Ian. I know that you're a very intuitive guy, so it wouldn't surprise me at all if you were just able to intuit those patterns that people try to deny, that people try not to recognize because they're terrified.
Maybe. I think time is like a two-directional thing, that we're on like a wave, and that there's two endpoints of time. We just exist in this wave between at all moments. So like it seems like it's going forward, but we're just sort of changing on this static. Like if a god or spirit were to look at our plane of existence, they'd see like a blanket. And we think of us going from like one side of the blanket to the other side of the blanket but the spirit would see the entire thing, and that we exist somewhere on that at any given.
Is that like the front and the back of the tapestry kind of, what is that? Trying to think. They say God has a tapestry that he weaves, and all you see is the tattered side with all the ribbons and the torn, threads and whatever, but he's the only one who can see the completed side. That type. Is that what you're referring to? Basically that, or did I just blow your mind?
No, that was another interesting way, which is true, because we're piecing together things that he sees all of, or it can perceive. It's similar to that, yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought of it as on one side of a blanket, and then we're like an ant crawling across the blanket, and that's what we think of as time, as we're traveling across this already constructed thing that exists with or without us, and these what we call start and finish points are just always there, and the spirit is. What's it?
I think time is more of an emergent quality. We are perpetually gathering information as it comes in at a delay, so like a lag, if you wanted to use computer terms. And we reference that material to things that have already happened. So it's more or less just a perpetual collection of data from what's happened, pattern recognition, to what we perceive to be currently going on, even though it's already happened. And then when we look at relativity, where if you were sitting on a porch somewhere looking up at a star and another person come running past you at a high velocity and looked at that same star at the same time, what you would actually perceive would be days apart relative to that star, even though you're seeing it in the exact same moment. So it just seems as if time is just an emergent quality of us noticing patterns.
There's something about, and that would be like Doppler effect or parallax, where the further something is away from you, the slower it seems to move, and therefore the faster you would be moving, maybe the closer something might seem. I'm not sure exactly if that translates.
Well, it's the same kind of reason that you can't ever watch somebody fall into a black hole. They would just seem to stop at a certain point, and then you would have to look away and look back for them to disappear, because time would become so crunched together relative to your position that they would just seem to stop moving.
I've noticed that when things go into the distance, it'll go, and then it gets to this point where it's like a dot, and if I keep looking at it, that dot never disappears. But if I blink, it's not there anymore.
Yeah, time does seem to lend itself to being an emergent quality, kind of like light and dark, where the darkness doesn't actually exist. It's just the absence of light. And time seems to be the same kind of way, where it's not a thing, it's just an emergent quality that we notice because we can catalog things that have happened and things that may happen, and we just perceive that as time.
As trippy as this all is, LJ, we want to get to a couple more callers here. Do you got anything you want to shout out before we go?
Just letting anyone in Northeast Oregon know that on Saturday, the 20th of September at Max Square in LeGrand, we'll be having a vigil and a memorial for Charlie Kirk, and to stand in solidarity with Erica and their kids. Everybody is welcome. We haven't got all the details hammered out yet, but it will hopefully be something worth remembering along with Charlie and his movement. And really appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to me, and have a wonderful rest of your evening.
You too, man.
Thanks for calling in, LJ. We appreciate it. Have a good night.
See you, buddy. That was great. Starting to get psychedelic there before we move to the next caller. They say about psychedelics, some people have said that the thing about THC, for instance, is that it enhances your pattern recognition, but reduces your memory capabilities. So you're like in the moment. I wonder if that has something to do with time dilation. But anyway, that's a whole other.
Yeah, but
thing
also
that could
your
take time.
motor or reactionary skills are just slightly slowed. It's not like alcohol, but just to the point to where sometimes like your reaction is just hair slower than it would be if you were just completely bird sober. Like something falling off of a counter, and any other time you would have like reached out and caught it out of just like, raw instinct, and like you're too stoned. So when you go to reach for that thing, you miss it by like an inch.
Yeah, it's like a focusing. I always think of weed. It's like a focusing mechanism where if you focus it too far in one direction, it gets blurry again. So you've got to just hit that sweet
just
spot.
A short little delay, and it just makes the audio run off from the video. Me and Kellen were talking about that as another stupid little synonym for things.
Oh, Kellen would be a great guest every once in a while.
Yeah.
He's a wild man.
So we're going to jump back on the phones. We got a bunch of people in here now. So let's bring on Monica.
Hi, Monica.
We have this, the old Zoom effect here, where it takes a few seconds to get him on here.
Tell me
Monica,
more
you're
about
on the
Zoom.
show. I'm showing you muted.
Do you
Everybody who's
meditate
playing the
much?
game knows
Do you
that.
meditate, Brandon?
I wouldn't call it meditating. Kind of sometimes just call it getting my shit together, like essentially just getting my mind right, which sometimes requires me to go and sit somewhere by myself and just, but I'm not like, sitting Indian style, like this oming or anything with my eyes closed on a mountaintop or anything like that. I don't know if that's like, if any of that's just actual cliche. I know people do it because it does actually help clear the mind, but like for me, realistically, it's just getting back down to base, getting rid of all of the excess noise.
Oh, and the 5G, the radiation, the trees probably ground that radiation, or potentially could.
It's really just being able to sit somewhere where you don't have any interference from anything but what's currently around you and existing. And I don't know, just phone to the side, like you don't necessarily even have to have your eyes closed. It's just like you got to be in a place where you can focus your thoughts for a second, collect yourself, and then move on with life.
Monica, just start talking if you're here, and I'll hand you the floor. But I had this meditation where I
am here. I am here, but I love listening to you speak.
Okay, I'll finish this then relatively quickly, and you go. That I'll meditate, and it's like I'm floating above this plane, this flat plane, and as I zoom away from this flat plane, and it gets smaller and smaller in the distance, it's expanding at the same speed that so it's getting bigger as I'm getting further away from it. So it's getting smaller, but it's expanding, so it's staying the same size, and it's like this twisting in my gut and in the back of my brain, this perception of that it can get bigger and further away, and it seems to not change at all. It's a fascinating meditation. I don't know why I just started.
Ian, do you think that that's like the way the universe expanded? Like the way, so it's still expanding, and it will always expand. And so like with our minds, like whenever you think like that, you think it's like the universe is always expanding, and when people think critically about it, then our minds expanding too.
I know that was a question, but I kind of liked just relaxing after you said that.
Ian's whole head just exploded again.
it maybe, but the thing that I had a hard time with that you said is that the universe is always expanding. Lately, I've been thinking of the universe as a torus, and that what's happening is it's going around like a bow tie, and it goes up around through this singularity and it crunches and then it blasts open as a big bang again and wraps around. And the reason why when we look into deep space and we see the red shift, which indicates to scientists of the 20th century that means it's getting further away faster. That means that the wavelength is getting longer. What's really happening is the wavelength that we're looking at that's so quick because we're looking at it from this angle turns because it's turning around this bow tie. So it looks like the wavelength is getting longer, even though it's the same wavelength. We're seeing it from a different perspective. And it's actually this infinity that it never really starts or finishes.
You don't think it ever, well, it might never. I mean, I do believe you're right. It doesn't ever end.
But in terms of consciousness, I mean, I definitely think it's with the expansion and stuff like that, consciousness definitely is eternally moving forward, which means getting better and better as we go. I don't think it necessarily means expanding, but the premise is always going to be there for expansion as far as our intellectual limits go. As far as evolution goes, things are constantly moving forward. So I think we just continuously, universally, with a conscience, will just always be getting better as long as we're alive and continue to exist.
I wondered if...
Brandon, do you really believe we're always moving forward? Like, you've seen so many people be so evil lately. And I feel like that's devolution. That's not evolution.
There's there's the term 1 step forward, 2 steps back, right?
Right.
I mean, progress is, only goes as far as it's allowed to. And there are always going to be drawbacks. There are always going to be people that want to limit progress, that want to halt progress, even reverse progress. We've seen that in the government tons of times, right? And just generally in society, there's always going to be these people that want to stop and go back to the way things were. And there's going to be people that want to get past this era that we're in and get into the future already. Why are we wasting time? And then there's the people that are completely okay with being where they are right now and in this situation and in any other situation that's happening right now, just for now. These are 3 different categories of people that are all existing at the exact same time. So because of that, that's always going to be a factor in life. Jump on whichever colored train you want to. Everyone's arriving at a destination in the end. So I think as long as we continue as a species to grow in knowledge and evolve, then there will always be a forward path, no matter how short the steps that we're taking on that path are.
I know, and then there's also the big steps that people are taking, like the Pegasus and the Palantir and all this stuff. That's huge steps, and that could be like, it could also be very detrimental to our
absolutely existence. And you know how I feel on this too. Like, I think it is, if anything, it has the capability of being more detrimental on us. But it's the fact that we're expanding in knowledge to be able to do this in the first place that is the amazing part of this, and what the capabilities of it are. It's just terrifying what the cons of it are, and that's where we're getting to. We have grown so much in science and in our capability to produce these types of things that this is where we are. It used to be we would just talk about it in movies, and now we are actually physically we've seen the birth of artificial intelligence, and it's being used by everyday people like you and me. And it's not going to stop anytime soon from what we've seen. It's only going to keep going. So this is that expansion, and this is us getting greater as a species. It's just we have to figure out how to keep it all together and make sure that it doesn't end up destroying us. That's all.
I was
1000%. Oh, I'm sorry, Ian. Please.
Oh,
what do you think about it?
Well, I was thinking about holding it together, and that if you become, because I think it was Darwin that said it's not the strongest of the species that's most likely to survive, but the one that's most adaptable to change. And I think that, I'm wondering if this is the case, that if you become too good, and I don't normally like to use binaries in describing, but if you become too good or too evil, like away from the general mass of humanity or of reality, that then you're just discarded from it. That maybe that's why these really wonderful humans are taken from us, or these horrible, evil humans are taken from us, by the legal system or whatever. And that it's not all, you don't want to be extreme in any one direction at any given moment. But sometimes if you do step out and become an extreme force of good, you can manipulate enough people. And I use manipulate as a neutral term, just change enough people to step up and become that with you. And then you're not too far away from them. It's kind of a risk. Like, am I going to ostracize myself from these people if I step up and speak out or are enough people going to go along with me that I'm still accepted as one of you?
I agree with that. I think that there's ways you have to be like slow but sure if you want to try to change people's minds. You can't go quick this way or that way. You got to, stay steady and slowly, like the tortoise in the hare analogy or whatever, like slow and steady wins the race. So I have three things about the Charlie Kirk assassination that I've not heard people talking about that I would like to ask you gentlemen's opinions on real quick.
Okay.
And the first one is the man who was asking the question to Charlie whenever he got assassinated. He asked the direct question about, transgender mass murderers, and he was asking Charlie about it, and then Charlie asked him, something about gang violence and other mass murders, and right after that is when he got murdered.
Right.
And so I'm wondering, why have we not heard anything about the guy that asked the question? Because the guy that was asking the question, is he got anything to do with this? Like, that's what I was wondering. And like, why would he be asking that question literally at the very beginning of the, him taking questions? And then we never hear anything else about this person at all. And then another thing, we haven't heard anything about the bullet that was actually the bullet that killed him. We haven't heard if it was the right ballistic, was it the right bullet casing? Was it matched to the gun? Because you can match the forensics from the gun pretty quick in ballistic studies. After you find the bullet and the gun, it's easy to match it. We haven't heard anything about the bullet. And then the other thing, I've seen all these reports online about people are seeing like shots coming from behind, and then they're like, yeah, that would make sense, like the way the exit wound looks to come from behind him. And so it doesn't like it came from in front of him. It looked like it came out of his neck. And that's why it was bleeding so profusely from the front. It would not, if he was shot from the front, he would be bleeding so badly out of the back first. And so I was just wondering if y'all had heard anything about that. And I don't know if there's many people thinking about that aspect. And
Yeah.
thank y'all so much for taking my call.
Sure. Yeah. So the student you're referring to at Utah Valley University was Hunter Kozak. He did actually, at some point in the last week or so, speak out about his question asked to Charlie. I don't remember what media platform it happened at, if it was the news or what happened, but from what I understand, he had several questions prepared, ultimately decided that he was going to comment about the gun violence on transgender individuals involving transgender individuals. And he expressed regret about the question that he asked, saying basically he would have chosen, if he had known that it was coming, he wouldn't have asked that question, basically, which, I mean, I don't think anybody would have, but
I know it's very ironic though that he asked that question. How could if that transgender, I mean not transgender, but that guy that was dating the transgender guy, how could he have heard? I mean,
it's I get it. Believe me, I think a lot of people's thoughts went to this at some point. I don't necessarily believe that it's true. I think it is a conclusion that we've probably jumped to just with the coincidence of it all. Was if Shane was sitting here right now, he would say there are no coincidences. But I mean, it's one of those things where in something like this, it's not surprising that this was a topic that was brought up and asked to Charlie. The peculiar and crazy thing about the situation is that it actually took place after the question. And that, causes the mind to lead to all kinds of crazy conclusions. And that was one of them for me too. But I don't think that was related. The bullet they found, I believe they identified as 30-06, which is like a hunting round. I believe
so they have came out with the forensics on the bullet.
I don't know the full story of. I haven't seen the full like forensics anything reports of anything like that other than just I saw that they had identified the shot as a 30-06. So I gotta double check everything and find out if they confirmed that the rifle and everything that was being used. I can't remember what they said it was, but
if you find out about them coming out with the actual bullet, the bullet, not like just oh it looks like it was this or that. Like I haven't seen anyone come out with the actual forensics from the bullet or the trajectory. Like we're not getting the autopsy report. Like it's very suspicious to me.
yeah, it's weird with some of this stuff that it hasn't been released yet because it seems like in any other it'd be any other situation like this, it'd be talked about widely and as quickly as it could be obtained. With the ongoing investigation, who knows if this stuff has actually fully been released? I haven't seen it. Doesn't mean it's not out there. I'm sure there's probably already people in chat talking about it. I'll try to review that in a second, see if I pull anything from that. But there's been a wide range of stuff like this debunked. The shots from behind thing I don't think was also I don't think a thing that would have been possible. The fact of the matter is that he was hit basically I don't know how this happened because there's multiple videos that show it looks like he gets hit in the chest first. Almost looks like the bullet ricochets somehow, leaves his neck. This sparked a theory that he was wearing some kind of like armor plating or something like that. Was not the case.
I agree. That's what I thought as soon as I saw the video. I was like, it looks like it hit a bulletproof vest and bounced.
Right.
It looked like it bounced up. And Alex Jones was talking about this on his show. As soon as he saw the video, he was like, I've seen what happens whenever a bullet hits a bulletproof vest like that. It bounces up normally.
On a ricochet, yeah. Like if the angle is too great, then yeah, it should. The plates are designed to kind of have the bullet kind of smash itself into it and hold it there in place, or if anything, just get it to fall off. They're not really supposed to skip is the whole point, is that it doesn't ricochet, but you do get broken off fragments and things like that from plating, which sometimes can kind of just splinter and also cause wounds at high speeds like that. So, but the fact of the matter is that it hit him in, I believe it was right. That's right where the carotid artery is, or one of them at the very least, and that's why the bleeding was so profuse as well. That's why I don't think there was anything that they could do for him, unfortunately.
I really appreciate you taking my call. I want to let other people get on, but I love your show. I love your show, Brandon. Thank you, Ian, for being on. I love you too. You're so smart.
Thank you, Monica.
And I love your spirituality. And thank y'all, gentlemen, so much.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Monica. We'll talk to you soon.
I like
Thank
that.
you.
Bye. I like that no coincidences thing Shane talks about. I don't think coincidences are real anymore. Do you?
What did you? I mean, I'm on the fence about this. This is something where Shane's got me kind of leaning in, but I've never really fully like come to a conclusion of whether or not I believe in them or not. I think it's real, and that's why there's a word for it and everything like that. I don't know that it's necessarily is anything other than like time. We came up with time. You know what I'm saying? It's considered real. It's considered like a law of the universe, but we came up with it. We invented it. You know, this wasn't made by anybody else.
Well, there's this scientist Wei Ping Yu we had on Culture War, and we talked about he's in the camp that we're in a magnetic universe, that gravity is a form of magnetism, and he showed a magnet, and if you take a magnet and fold it over on itself and keep folding it over and folding it over and folding it over until it makes a square, or in space, what happens is it turns into a sphere, turns round, and then it forms into like a planet. You've got all these magnets, and what happens is it neutralizes the magnetic force of the magnet because all the poles you've got a north and a south pole at every juncture of the sphere. So that we proposed together that all the planets, all the spherical bodies in celestial nature are actually magnets, and that we're all part of this magnetic flow. And then maybe I wonder if that's what Taoism was tapping into, the flow, the way is the magnetic. And that in that instance, there's no coincidences that we're all being pulled along some flow state. But that doesn't mean we don't have free will within it. I used to just think hard and cold, pure coincidence. There is zero evidence that it is connected in any way to that. And now I'm more open to thinking maybe there's an outside force maneuvering things.
I've never liked the idea that something else is in control. I guess it's probably one of my biggest things with belief is I've never wanted to believe that there was anything other than me as a cause for the things that I was doing in my life, you know, unless it was influential by some other means, but not like, you know, I've never liked the idea of puppet on a string.
Have you ever had
mentality. You know, I don't know if that makes any sense, but
did you ever have an experience where like something happened where you're like, how did that?
I mean, multiple times. It's really just plays out in my head like a lottery. Like, you know, you're gonna have thousands and thousands and thousands of experiences in a decent length life. You know, odds are, you know, one in however many of those is going to be a crazy incident or a crazy moment or something that somebody you never would have thought that they would have witnessed. But that's what makes life memorable, is those situations, and they don't happen all the time. I mean, I feel like some people get like a recurrence of this stuff, like David Hogg. You know, like, just like, how are you there for all of this? You know, it's crazy and unfortunate and kind of conspiratorial, but whatever. I'm not gonna, get into that. But like, I don't know, situations like that, it's just like, okay, if this isn't coincidence, what the hell is this? You know, and I don't like the idea that there's a control factor behind it, that something is pulling the strings, and no matter what decision you make, whether you decide to turn left, right, or go straight, your path was chosen for you before you even came to that decision.
Before I came over to the show, I was thinking like, okay, I'm a video game character and the spirit is controlling my body, but not, I'm sort of on my own. The spirit has I have ability, like the spirit can press the 3 key and it activates my regeneration. So I think when you pray to the spirits, like, please heal him, please heal him, the spirit will push the 3 key and activate that guy's regeneration skill. And then his body will start regenerating, and that maybe there's an influence from beyond, but I'm still sort of like, it's not like if you play World of Warcraft and you watch your character, he's standing there moving. He's like still moving. You're not like,
well, it's
making
like in Street
bounce.
Fighter when they're sitting there doing this in their stances. There's no reason for that, you know, like, just stand there.
and then maybe there's aspects of reality that the spirits aren't controlling, but maybe that they're influencing. Because like the way Trump turned and it hit his ear could be total coincidence. It could be, but it was Donald Trump.
That's hard to pull that off. Like, getting a shot that close to somebody without hitting them is either a complete accident or it's the exact opposite. It's completely on purpose. So that for me, it seems like it's less likely that it was on purpose or that it was an accident. In my opinion, honestly, it seems like it was more purposeful, that it just was a matter of chance that he happened to turn his head at that moment and look to that side of the crowd. I mean, you saw how fast the bullet hit Charlie. From the sound of the gunshot being fired was almost instantaneous. That's how fast these bullets move, you know, upwards of, you know, thousands of feet per second. And, dude, like, I don't know. I don't think anything should have control of the direction that you're moving in except for you, is really just needs to be the basis of, like, my answer on this.
But what are you? But a collection of 1 trillion organisms.
Sure, but collectively, it's my brain making the decisions, right? Not any of those.
I mean, I wonder about like food craving, because I think when you eat a food that has bacteria on it, you put that bacteria in your stomach, then it starts sending electrical signals to your body like, well, I want more of what I like, and you're like, I could go for some more of.
You could also have worms.
Could be the worm doing it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm more of a collective.
That's a thing.
I got a parasite cleanse. Oh, I did do a cleanse, and it was amazing, brother. Have you ever done like an intestinal cleanse?
I don't think so.
Talking about exorcisms?
Like, what are you talking? We talking about like drinks,
It's like a week long
changing your diet.
No, it was called Zen cleanse. It was a week long fasting cleanse where I ate like psyllium husk and like pineapple powder, and then all this mucoid plaque comes out at the end of the week. This like hose of plaque that builds up on your inner intestine over decades, and then after that, it goes into a liver flush where all these gallstones came out. These green, I have pictures I took, and I will happily show you if you ever want to see it. Came out, and we collect them. They were like, collect them in a colander and go through them with chopsticks to see what was in you. And there's parasites. It doesn't kill the parasites, but it removes the stuff that the parasites live in. And it just made me think of like exorcising the demons, because I think those things might have some sort of electromagnetic mind control. I mean, they're just tapping into your nervous system with their electrical impulses. Hypothetically, I'm not sure that there's any scientific evidence.
I know how that stuff can make a person feel run down, tired, fatigue, all of that stuff, cause digestive issues, things like that. I don't know that these things are actually infesting the human mind, though. You think that stuff like that contributes to your thought patterns?
Yeah, because of all the neurons in the stomach. Since I learned there are neurons in muscles and in the brain and in the stomach, that it's all connected, the nervous system, how connected it is.
Sure.
I'm starting to think that we're more maybe not controlled, but we're receiving impulses for craving and activity that maybe are outside of our. I mean, what am I? I wonder that. Like, I think I am, therefore what? But what? Why do I think I am?
Questions we will have to revisit at another time.
That's a good idea.
We are moving into the 11 o'clock hour
Renee
here
shouting, yes, Brandon, yes.
on the East Coast. Hawk Dude says, I wanted to call and tell my story. Will Sean be back tomorrow? I think he meant Shane. No offense, Ian. I just wanted a Christian perspective. No offense taken.
No offense.
I'm not a Christian guy,
Yeah.
so you're not going to get a Christian perspective from me, as well. People well know. But you're still more than welcome to call and get an opinion. Charlie preached always having the conversation, and I think that's real important. And I'm more than willing to talk to any of you, even if I don't believe in what you believe in. That's the biggest takeaway from this for me, is to keep having that conversation. Like Ian said, keep it going. So feel free to call in. And in light of that, let's get back on the phones. I want to. All right, let's
This is wonderful.
get. There's a random just Zoom user in here called Zoom user. So I always like to go down these avenues because they seem like they're like a roulette thing here. So
I love it.
we're gonna bring in Zoom user. You are on the show. Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
We can. Welcome to the program.
So, are you guys familiar with remote viewing?
Yeah. Oh, the terminology, and kind of I understand that the CIA, I think, was working on people and getting them into trances so that they could experience it. That's about as much as I know, though.
Yeah, so essentially they in their mind, they essentially view places that are far away that they don't actually know. So like they would give them like coordinates of different areas on Earth. They wouldn't, they don't know coordinates. Like they don't know where, they give them some place in the middle of Siberia, right? And they could see like this, thing in their mind, and it just happened to be like this, secret military base that they didn't know anything about. But that's just an example. But what I wanted to bring up was, lots of people are familiar with like Stargate, which is like the main CIA project for remote viewing, but a lot of people don't know about like Project Sunstreak. There's a really interesting file in there where it talks about psychic Chinese children. And what really interested me, and it goes like beyond remote viewing, right? It's not just viewing in your mind. They actually like altered reality with their mind, right? And obviously you have to take it with a grain of salt because it is, China, right? But essentially they ran experiments where they broke a metal needle in half, like clean in half. And then they said, try to repair this, right? By using your mind. And they did it successfully. I can't pull it off the top of my head. I don't remember, but they showed it under like a microscope, like before and after, and seemed pretty intact to me that they were able to do it with their mind. And then they also had them read concealed characters, like Chinese characters, in an envelope, right? So they put a Chinese character in an envelope, they don't know what it is, and then they like hold it up to their forehead. They'd see like this outline, right? And then they could like draw out the character. This type of stuff, like it goes beyond remote viewing. Like the fact that someone is able to, like, again, take it with a grain of salt, but like the fact that someone is able to repair like a needle with their mind, like that just goes beyond seeing, like it's doing with your mind. So I'm really curious what you guys think about that, if you guys really trust.
Oh, well, this immediately made me think of this news article that I recently saw where stunning discovery: metals can heal themselves. They've observed metal spontaneously healing its microscopic cracks at the nanoscale, a phenomenon that contradicts long-held material theories and could revolutionize engineering. Metal can repair itself at the nanoscale. So I don't see any reason why there couldn't be some sort of magnetic incitation through the magnetic field through a phaptic coupling, like your own neurons vibrating that causes a resonance in the field, which then causes that field to cause other things to start to vibrate within that field, like metal. That could be, it tracks logically. I don't know if it's truly happening or not.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they exactly ran the experiment. Like, again, take it with a grain of salt, but we do know, like, for a fact, like, remote viewing definitely, is real, but, maybe not altering reality. But another interesting one I found that was ran by the CIA, not, some foreign country that we can probably trust more, is that, do you guys know who Ingo Swann was?
No.
So he's considered to be one of the best remote viewers of all time. So he was the guy who like kickstarted the whole thing for the CIA. Like, believe what you want to believe, but he would like see different places in the galaxy, like these visions, and then he'd like paint those out into different paintings. But the most famous thing he did was that he was able to like, so there's like something like 200 feet below ground. It was like a measuring device with like a needle, right? Like a measuring needle. And like he didn't touch anything, obviously, right? But he was able to move it like with his mind, and like they verified this. Like again, I can't pull it off the top of my head exactly like what he did, but that's just one instance, another instance of like altering reality.
I had an experience where I was lifting, this is about 3 or 4 months ago. I was lifting like a book. I don't remember what it was, something very heavy, and I was having a hard time balancing it. And I realized it's a bunch of electrons, and so am I. And all of a sudden, we all became one thing in that moment, and it was very easy to lift. And I realized that there is no spoon. It's just a bunch of subatomic fluctuation. And I became one with the material in that moment, and it was very easy to maneuver. So maybe it's something to do with that.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, no one thing, like we made up the idea of, like I'm holding a pen right now, right? I'm just fidgeting with it. But now that I think about it, we made up the concept of a pen, right? Like the pen doesn't exist, right? And if something individually doesn't exist, then, what makes up reality? Well, it all has to be one piece. Right? Reality is all one. I mean, it goes together with like the idea of quantum entanglement, where you can have two particles separate of each other influencing, like they influence each other even from great distances apart. I don't know if that tracks or not.
I mean, that's the only reason why I think anything like that is actually possible, is just because we've seen it in that. I mean, it's a good placeholder for things like this. And I mean, when I get right down to it, it's hard for me to rationalize a person being able to control things or move things with their mind. Looking into the future, I mean, I've probably, like a lot of other people out there, have had deja vu several times where I'm like, what the hell? I've lived through this before. And I could literally see to the moment in my head these things that are happening in reality in front of me as if I have witnessed them before, and even to the point to where I know what was happening. I've identified, there was a person saying something on the TV. There was someone standing in a specific spot behind me. How the hell should I know that unless I've lived it before? I mean, this is like, deja vu is one of the things that I can't explain that I've experienced multiple times. And I don't necessarily think I'm seeing the future, but at the same time, it's like, what the hell explanation is there for that? If you haven't been there before, why the hell are you there right now recognizing it, So, I mean, that's one of the things that's always got me and made me think that maybe there is a neural pathway or something that we have, or something that causes these connections to happen. And maybe we can physically alter some of the things that we see. Have we gotten that far? I don't know. Is Neuralink going to play a part in that? Who knows? Maybe when they start microchipping people, everybody becomes like a giant ball of radiation and starts moving shit around. Who knows? I do think it's possible. I just don't know if that's right now.
I had this plasma ball. You ever have one of those where you can like put your fingers on it and it's like points the plasma? You ever
Yeah,
see
the
those?
electricity kind of just...
I would stand across the room from it and use the force, like focus chi. I would do a lot of Reiki and Tai Chi and things like that. And I wanted it to show me that I was connecting, and I could not get it to show me. If it was happening, it probably is invisible to the naked eye. But dude, lately I've been thinking about subatomic spin, because scientists to this point have not yet been able to explain why particles are forming at the subatomic level in the way that they are. Fermions, bosons. Why is this subatomic fluctuation, this vortexual dynamic happening? And I'm like, I think it's a cymatic phenomenon where there's a radiation or vibration, a frequency that maybe is almost imperceivable. It's so small or big, who knows, that if you ever see cymatics in action, it's where they'll run like a frequency on a plate, and then they'll put a bunch of sand on the plate, and they'll turn the frequency up. And as the frequency changes, the sand will like go into these different these forms, and they'll change the frequency, and it'll change shape. It's a wild scientific phenomenon. So if the universe is a frequency, and then that frequency changes, the shape of the subatomic space points up, and then the frequency changes, it points right, changes again, it points down, frequency changes, points left, and then the frequency changes so fast that it looks like it's spinning. And if you can somehow tap into that change in frequency, maybe you can alter the way matter forms.
I can see that, but that seems so far-fetched, being able to have enough power to tap into that frequency, let alone to actually morph it into something that you see or something that you want. But maybe it's possible that these people have that ability that he's talking about. I mean, it is a thing on here. I did go into it a little bit while he was talking and just get into it, but it is a thing. It says that our government has people that they're training to do this kind of shit, and that these people do exist. I don't know how legitimate it is, but from what our caller is telling me, that these guys have some level of accuracy that it should be questionable whether or not it's true. So,
light, like when this is something, it's not really related, it's kind of off, it's a little tangent. If a baseball's coming flying towards you, you're actually seeing the light reflect off the baseball and hit your eyes before the baseball gets to you. You see it. You're seeing the future. You're seeing where you're actually predicting the future by seeing the light before the matter gets to you. So that almost has nothing. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a visual delay, right? Between like objects and like how we perceive it.
Yes. And so we've built this anticipatory behavioral function that's what we are. We're basically maybe that's why when you say, if someone feels good, you kind of feel it. And if you go into a conversation nervous, the other person reacts in a nervous, like they sense it before it's coming, or before it's there.
Yeah. I feel like it has to do with like the right side of the brain a lot, because what remote viewers describe when they're like sensing something is like, it's like trying to remember something that like the idea of, but like someone's name that but like you can't necessarily put a name on it, right? Like, do you guys know what I'm talking about? Where it's like the idea of a thing, not necessarily like the name attached to it.
Yeah, I experienced that almost gutturally. Like my stomach is trying to understand what it is.
Yeah, so I feel like that might just be them. Like, I feel like the right side of the brain might have like definitely more capabilities, than the left brain that's just able to perceive farther beyond. Like, since it's not limited by just like time and place, like, this thing, is called this, and whatever, right? It's expanded because it understands that like reality is all one piece. Like, it understands entanglement, right?
Yes, when you let go of the label of the structure, it's easier to experience the structure in other ways than what you like. If you stop thinking of it as a baseball and you realize it's so much more, then you might start to see it in different aspects of it, or see it in different ways.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for calling in, man. We appreciate it. Have a good night.
Smooth. Your voice, he just slid right in. That was awesome.
Hey, what do they say? Slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Oh, that's good. Reciprocal.
All right. So we're gonna keep rolling with callers, man. We're gonna keep on keeping on. Thank you so far to everybody who has called in, everybody who's hanging out in our lobby right now. I can tell you right now, there's no way we're getting all these people. It's going to be another night of me trying to make up for this later on in the week. But thank you so much to everyone who's called so far. Thank you again to our special guest host, Ian Crossland, who is here in the studio hanging out. We've had a crazy time so far talking about all kinds of weird shit. And we're going to keep it rolling. So let's go to, I want to bring... Let's see if Jeff got out of the void yet.
Jeff. From the void to your table.
Jeff, are you there?
Hey, what's up? Is this?
Man.
Yeah, you've left the singularity that you were in the last time you called. Welcome back.
Yeah, the sound has to go inside your ear holes.
Yeah.
So,
Quite literally.
First off, we got to get something out of the way. Ian was talking about the hose of filth coming out of his butthole.
Oh, yeah, let's go.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, that's when the music
wife.
kicks on. That's what I'm talking about.
That was my wife calling me.
Yep, she's
Fantastic.
feeling
That's
it.
just my regular ringer.
I think you and your wife
the
should do a
Stones.
cleanse. All right, wait, I'm listening.
The Stones.
Oh, the gallstones.
Did those also come out of your butthole?
They did, yeah. I cleared the intestine first of all the stuff, and then the liver flushed those into the intestine and then out the ass.
I'll be damned.
Yeah.
All right.
They're green. They look like capers. Sometimes it comes out as sand. Sometimes it'll come out as large as golf balls, I've heard. I talked to Alex Jones
wow.
about it. He was like,
That's insane.
it's wild.
I
I'm
saw
good on
that
that.
in Mexico one time.
You saw it.
But yeah, they had a bar where girls. Don't worry about it. So you back to the beginning of the show. You were questioning the humility as a virtue in the Bible, and I don't know. I don't think it's like humility in like the being like groveling on your knees and saying I suck kind of humility.
Sure.
It's more like the something I do and like any good thinking person does, which is just like leaving room that you might be wrong.
Yeah, don't
know.
sit there and beat your chest, you know?
Right. Don't
Yeah.
like, what are you the authority at? What are you actually the authority on?
Yeah,
You know?
it's the vain side of things for me that I think is what pushes it over that edge, is where the vanity comes into play on that.
The issue I've got with humility, maybe you've got more, Jeff, but I'll tap in, is that if like, because what I think the worst thing about pride is like if you have a conversation with God, if you have a unique interface and you speak to God and God speaks to you, if you go to everyone and you're like, well, I talk to God, so I'm better than other people, like that kind of pride is hell and damnation. You're asking for damnation. But if you're so humble that you know you don't even mention it to anyone ever, and it's just truly a personal internal, I feel like that's also a flaw, that you want to let people know.
Well, if your model for perfection is God, and God created man, right, and gave him free will and just kind of set that ball rolling and said, like, here's what I would really like you to do, but you're going to do what you're going to do, why would he not want you to act the same way as far as like talking about him? I don't think he would want you to enforce your beliefs on anybody or really like, put like public shame on them, unless it's like something really bad. But if it's just for like not believing in God, I don't think he would want anybody being brought to like public shame. He just wants you to be like, I sincerely think you should reconsider, but alrighty,
Wait, I meant like, well, what do you mean? How do you mean that exactly? If you say,
So there's a guy in Chicago.
Yeah.
We call him Preacher Man. I bet Tim knows about him. And ask him about Preacher Man outside the Old Navy. He'd go on State Street, Michigan Avenue, and he'd literally stand on a crate with a microphone with like a little stupid speaker.
We have one of those guys out here, actually.
Yeah, he'd be like, "You smoking? You going to hell?"
They call him the
You gay.
Hellfire
You
Preacher
going to
or
hell.
something like that.
He would literally just condemn people to hell all day.
Yeah.
And
so he's using his divine authority to tell people.
Well, that was like there's people that we've seen that were on YouTube with this stuff too. There was a guy called the Preacher that we used to watch a lot, which is just like an angry like Latin guy that would just you're going to hell. Buddha's not a god, he's just a man. And he'd just be screaming
He's
at
just
people.
a man.
He was just pissed off at everybody. And I think his name was just the Preacher, but
Okay, I'm sorry, Jeff. I interrupted you with my tangent there. Please.
Oh no, I'm just saying that I don't think God. I mean, I couldn't know the will of God, but based on God's behavior, so far, I don't think he would want that sort of behavior. He would be like, you're supposed to, as a Christian, I guess, spread the good news, right, about Jesus, and sure, do that, but like only to the willing audience. Don't enforce people or like cast negativity upon them just for not being averse to it. You can be persistent, but don't be, an asshole, I think.
Here's my question. If pride isn't the sin necessarily, except it's when it goes too far and it becomes egoism, or what's a better word? You mentioned one, like extreme pride,
vanity.
vanity,
Authority.
yeah, something like that. Like if that's the real sin, is extreme pride, vanity, that kind of thing, then what would be the extreme form of humility that would be also the bad, like it's gone too far, like too much charity, for instance? I've given everything I own away and I have nothing left now and I die in starvation. Like you don't want to be obsessively.
Right.
Too much diligence is you work until you die on your feet. You know, it's too much.
I think you got to combine it with something that I heard old Jordan Peterson say one time. He was like, you know that thing in the Bible, Buckaroo, about blessed are the meek, so they shall inherit the earth. That's not the actual translation, bud. I'm gonna stop doing Jordan Peterson. He goes, he says, that's not the actual translation. The actual translation is, blessed are those who have swords and know how to use them, but keep them sheathed. Which is way more meaningful than the meek, you know?
Yeah, knowing when to stay your hand and when to take a life are two different things. That's been discussed in, what was that, The Hobbit?
Was
Like,
it? That's interesting.
and he was telling Bilbo not to kill Gollum.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that was a whole thing.
He
He
isn't.
had a conversation with Elijah Wood about it.
I think it is. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But like that being
flashbacking.
said, you know, I think that's the humility that he's talking about. Like, be capable, know as much as you can, expand your knowledge as much as you can, and you know, which would, in a lot of people's eyes, make you an authority on whatever subject you're spending a lot of time on. But at that same time, you know, keep it sheathed. You don't have to swing your dick around. And I think you can apply that to like everything.
Like your knowledge, for instance.
Yeah, your knowledge, your experience. You know, let's say you do have that conversation with God himself, and you know for a fact that God is real and this is exactly what he wants you to do. And you're right, and you know it. You know, you can have that knowledge, but to use it as a sword or to bludgeon people with it is, you know, that's the humility, and that's the keeping the sword sheath and having power, but, you know, being a happy warrior, basically, like Benny says, right?
Knowing
So, yeah.
that you might be wrong. This is where I am with religion, and my own humility is that, like, I know my perception is capable of being flawed. So even when I talk to God, or what I think is God, and it responds, or I speak with Jesus and he responds, or I think it's Jesus, I know that my perception is capable of being flawed. Therefore, I just land on agnosticism because there's no way to know.
There is no way to know, but, you know, there is a lot of evidence for or against, you know, like quantum physics has been saying that, you know, the very fabric of the universe is consciousness. And I believe in the universe as like in a fractal or holographic universe. I'm sure you've heard of this, where you can take any small part of it and it reflects the whole. It contains all the information of the whole.
Yeah, Nassim Harriman has a theory called the holofractographic universe. That is
Look at that. That's a new one.
It's great.
But you know, if you subscribe to that, and that the universe is consciousness, and, you know, as the Bible says, man is made in the image of God, look at the nature, like look at your hand, right? Look at the nature of your hand. It can go from a fist and then blossom into an open hand with 5 fingers that all have their own individual dexterity and so forth. And your whole body does that, right? You can curl up into a cannonball and then spread out into a Vitruvian man. And the universe does that too. And everything in nature does that. The way a human body forms from a zygote or a flower opening, or, you know, literally an explosion, whatever. So that being said, the humility of God would be that if you have all that knowledge, you know, what purpose is it of you forcing it on somebody else, of you being, you know, bludgeoning people with it, that sort of thing.
It's
Keep it
unnecessary.
sheathed.
Yeah.
When you're talking about the
And what does that even do for you? You know, like, does it make you any
Right.
better or any more intelligent at what you're doing, or more of an emphasis on you being the authority?
because it's like, it's so much more important, in my opinion, to get along than to be right. I don't know if that's, or to make people think you're right, because what is right? You know, I mean, sometimes it's like, hey, there is a car coming. I don't care if you are pissed at me in this, but like, just in throughout the flow of reality, for someone to like you is generally more important than for them just to think that you are correct. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's not always true.
There was an episode of It's Always Sunny about that, where one of the characters was walking across the street and there was like literally like a safe or a piano or something about to fall on him. And Frank, Danny DeVito's character, yells, "Hey, slur for gay people that starts with an F. Look out." And of course he looks and then looks up and avoids death. And his justification for that was that everybody's going to look if you scream that word. So it's okay to do it if it saves somebody's life.
Wow.
Interesting philosophy. When you were talking about
Terrible.
the universe opening, expanding, and contracting, I keep thinking about the galaxy and how we live in a spiral galaxy. If you study galaxies, there's 3 different types. There's the irregular galaxy, which is essentially just a bunch of stars sort of wavering together. Then you get the spiral, and they start to spin around. Like there's must be some central vortex that starts to spin them, and then it spins up into a spheroid galaxy, and it's like this ball. And we're like in the transitory period right now.
Oh, all right. That is true. I mean, I think the answers for what you're looking for, as far as that goes, if you've ever heard of David Wilcock, you talk a lot like David Wilcock. He talks about that sort of shit with, I forget the guy who did like the Face on Mars, Richard Hoagland. Created his own physics based on 3-dimensional geometry and tetrahedrons and all that, and it's right up your alley.
Oh, cool. So thanks for listening to that little spurg out. Maybe I should be like, hey, be humble. You don't need to tell everyone everything. You think of it every moment.
Maybe
All
that's.
right, I'm gonna turn it over to you guys, man. I've been on way too long,
Dude, Jeff,
as
thank you.
usual.
Yeah,
Wow.
appreciate you calling in, man. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, I'll see you guys.
See you,
later.
man.
All right. So, we got about 35 minutes or so left.
I've got. What's that?
No, yeah, go. What
I've
we
got.
got to say?
I feel like we have a duty. When I meditate, I picture like there's a lot about something about a sphere. You know, the sphere. It's like the perfect shape in space or something. This like the shape of least resistance, and that we are forming our galaxy into a spheroid. I don't know. I think about like Type 1 civilizations. Are you familiar with the types of civilizations in like science fiction and that
How they're like classified as and things
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
And eventually we build like a Dyson sphere, which is like a structure around our sun to collect the heat. And then we can use our sun to power our solar travels and our galactic travels. And I think a lot about forming, maybe through meditation or some like collective unification into like a spheroid galaxy. Cool shit.
I don't know. It's crazy to me. I'm one of those guys that's like better, leaving well enough alone type deal. We've got what we've got. It's been working. Why are we going to dick with it now? That type of situation. You Bill Gates wanting to black out the sun and shit like that. Like I'm just like, let's not do that. Things like that. That's where I get into like the man wasn't meant to medley, as Tony Stark would call it, because it's like now we are fucking with things that weren't meant for us, and maybe we have gotten so bored and so intelligent as a species that that's the only path that we have left to walk down is the unexplained. And I know that that's part of the reason why we have this show is because we feel like this is something that's going to go on for a long time. Humanity will continue to expand and find new things, and crazy shit will always be happening as long as we are walking this world. So
Yeah, the creative economy where we're coming to where like an AI is like, what do I build next, masters? And it's the most creative brain that commands is like, okay, and then it rewards the most creative among us. So like our thoughts are so important.
it always forces us to bear in mind that while we're seeing these things on the outside, it's the biggest thing is to continue to look past the things that are currently happening as well to the future, because a lot of what is going on right now and a lot of what always is happening in present time is there as a distraction for what's coming. And not everything, maybe even a small percentage sometimes, maybe a bigger percentage sometimes. It really all depends on where we're at, in life for the day or the week or the month or whatever the hell year we're in. But I do think it stays constant. It's going to continue, and we're gonna be here to talk about it. So let's jump back on the phones.
Nice
And,
Blackhawks hat, by the way.
Thanks, man.
I was a big Jeremy Roenick fan in 1994.
If anyone's wondering why I haven't gotten my Bears hat done yet, I'm waiting for them to actually win a goddamn game.
What's their record?
They are 0-2 now.
Really? They've been close.
Under
I
Ben
haven't-
Johnson. This was supposed to be, and I don't want to sound like a stereotypical Chicago Bears fan, but it's hard not to. They haven't won a championship since I was born. I thought maybe me moving to West Virginia would be the catalyst behind them going somewhere. I thought that I was actually the stain on that dynasty, or well, lack thereof. They only won one Super Bowl, right? In that we know of in the last, 30, 40 years.
The Walter
but
Payton era? Was that?
yes. Yeah, we haven't seen anything since. So I figured maybe me making my escape from Chicago, Bears are going to come back. We had a lot of hope at the beginning of the season with all of our acquisitions, things like that. New head coach. We're looking to turn this thing around with Caleb, and we haven't gotten out of the bottom of the Northern yet.
I think so much about collective consciousness and sports. Like, obviously, if you're at a game and you yell, the players hear you, and it will affect their gameplay. If you scream when the ball is hit, the players might be shook.
Well, that's why we have the whole, like, hey, how about a little quiet for the offense? When you're at a home game, the offense, your home team is on the field. Everybody shut the hell up so they can hear what's going on. We want them to be able to make plays. Yep. When we're on defense, it's scream your ass off because we want to screw up the offense, and that's allowed. Fans are the biggest thing.
I've been doing it with my thoughts from a distance. While I'll watch it live, I'll be focusing, and I did it with LeBron. I was like, wake up. I made a YouTube video and told him to wake up. They were down 0-3 against the Golden State Warriors, and I meditated and focused on the game. They won 4 in a row, or I think it was 4 in a row that season. It was wild. Because I came from the era of the Cleveland Sucks in the 80s and 90s.
This is the second or third time now during the show that you have mentioned manifesting something.
It's so connected, I think.
New conspiracy theory, Ian is controlling the world.
Affecting the world.
Not controlling.
No, I mean, I don't think of it.
Are these things happening exactly as you think them? Or do you think you're willing the way for these to happen in just some kind of concourse to what you're thinking?
That one happened literally. I didn't expect it to, but it literally happened as I was watching the games. I would focus.
But that was the outcome that you wanted.
Yes. I only focused on the Cavs players. I was just like, I kind of blurred my vision and saw the whole field, the whole court, and was just allowing it and manifesting victory. I don't know how to explain it exactly. Like,
because I've heard you talk about an ability to control the weather,
affect
to
the
some
weather.
degree.
It's a better term is effect.
Okay, I keep using control.
Yeah.
Sorry. So affect, as in you're not in control of it, but you are causing it to do things.
Yeah, I think because your body is producing a magnetic field, your heart's pumping probably the iron in your blood is causing the magnetic, but you have a magnetic field, which is inside of the Earth's magnetic field. So they're interfering, and so are the clouds. So your magnetic field is altering the Earth's magnetic field, which is then altering the cloud's magnetic field. So that logical train, I'm like, okay, I can assume the logic. And also, one time I was working out on the roof in Brooklyn and just doing Tai Chi with these rubber hoses, spinning and spinning and spinning. And I looked up in the clouds, a heavy, dense, gray cloud cover. I looked up and the clouds were spinning above me. And I was like, whoa. So I went back to meditation and Tai Chi, and I was doing it for a while. And I looked up and the clouds above me had opened up. They were still spinning, but they had opened, and the moon was up there shining. It was a hole in the clouds above me as the clouds rotated around. It's like, what? That was the first time I ever experienced anything where I thought, am I connected to this somehow?
Yeah, it almost sounds like witchcraft.
It was so funky. And then I got into like more intentionally attempting to affect it and somehow. And I've noticed consistently
you believe that you've altered the weather at some point or another.
Yeah, dude. When I was meditating, I mean, I don't want to be hubristic about it, but the hurricane going into Florida. Do you remember that one that was headed towards Miami? And then
there's one like every year. Do you know which?
It was
they like
one
to give
that ended
names
up
to
in
these things.
What's that?
They like to give names to these things.
Oh,
I don't
remember the name. It ended up in North Carolina though, and just destroyed like Western North Carolina. Remember that storm like a year ago? It hit. I mean, they're still recovering from it.
Yeah. I think I know what you're talking about.
I was like, I cannot let my friends in Miami get hit by this. I cannot let my friends. I have to dispel the hurricane heading towards Miami. So I just focused south and meditated. I went live. There's YouTube videos of it, meditating for like hours. And I thought, okay, good. Maybe I'll dispel it. All that happened though, it seems, is that I moved it. And I'm like, just because you know, everything you do in one area is going to affect something somewhere else, it seems like. So I've kind of backed off of it since then. But if I'm ever walking through the rain, I'll focus positive energy to try and dispel the clouds above me so that I don't get hit by water.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back to. I could dive down this for another half hour
it's
with
so
you
cool.
easily until the end of the show because this shit's crazy.
Some
But
electrodes.
let's jump back on the phones. I want to go to. All the way at the top of the list, Atom. Like up and at ATOM.
Hi, Adam.
At them.
I wonder if it was Hurricane Ian.
Up and at them.
That'd be interesting.
That I would actually like to know the answer to that question, because that would be really screwed up if it was. And then I would think that you were somehow tied to hurricane conspiracy.
I was going to tell people, like, you better. I was going to, like, threaten people with Hurricane Ian. It was so fucked up.
Oh my
In
God!
my deep mind, I was going to do it. I'm like, calm down. No, it wasn't Hurricane Ian. That was 22. This was like a year ago. Last season.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you're on the show. What's up?
Hey,
man.
It's nice to talk to you guys. Ian, I've been a big fan for a long time.
Fuck yeah.
So I want to start off with on the day that Charlie was shot, there was also a school shooting.
Colorado, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I want to address any parents that are listening. I really encourage you, go to your kids' schools, talk to the principals, talk to the resource officers, talk to the superintendents. What can we do? You know, sorry, I'm a little nervous.
You're okay.
You know, and if you see holes in the defenses, like I kind of pointed out some at my kids' school, you know, I see these problems where if somebody gets in, they can kind of see this is the button that lets them into the next area. So yeah, I just wanted to start out with a call to any parents, you know. On the subject of Charlie and then all the people celebrating that, how can we move forward with these people? I know I'd love peace, but there's so much rage. And part of the problem is some of the people are evil, but others are misguided. They've been lied to for 10 years, and you can't convince them even if you show them evidence. So how can we move forward from this point on, cohabitating with these people? Because there's a lot of them, and, you know, they're not going away.
You know, there's a question I've been asking myself the last week, and that's if Charlie could somehow know that these events transpired, if he was somehow aware of what happened to him, be it afterlife or premonition or knowing it was coming, would he still sit there and have these conversations knowing that ultimately it would be the last thing that he did? And it really seems like he would. Even if he knew that his life was on the line, even if he knew that he was going to take this sort of a fall, if it was worth it for him to keep that conversation going regardless, to show that that's the kind of person that he was and that's the kind of people that we should ultimately be. And I can't help but think that that's exactly what he would have done, and that's exactly what he would have wanted, is for us to keep the conversation going, like Ian said at the beginning of the show. And I think, as difficult as it's going to be, it's up to us to carry that. And yeah, there's going to be all kinds of situations, people that disagree, people that, you know, want to seek violence over this sort of thing. Charlie's thing was keep having the conversation and, you know, continue to show that you're right, but continue to keep having the conversation. I feel like we absolutely have to do that. And hopefully, you know, hopefully the violence can cease at some point. I don't understand the reason for it. I really don't. I don't understand why people have to die for these types of ideals. I don't understand why these people think that people need to die for these ideals. It's madness, and it's pure evil in my opinion. But there's only one way to vanquish that, and that's to keep fighting back. And the way that Charlie did it was by continuing to talk.
I agree. So with that in mind, I would also say, let's all go sign up for tpusa.com if you're so inclined.
tpusa.com. You know what I did? I started making, I made a video, and just to tell people how I was feeling about Charlie and about things, and it was very real. It was very real. I just decided to be vulnerable, and then I put it on Facebook, which is something I got a lot of friends from like 20, 25 years ago from like Los Angeles, my friends that are actors, people, that's the network if I'm on where they'll be like, I'm glad. And I just put it there anyway. And people reached out to me that I had one girl I hadn't seen and talked to in 27 years. She reached out to me, and she's like, "You got to come see us when next time you're in Ohio." And it's like reconnecting past connections that I didn't expect. So that's like an immediate result.
Yeah. Yeah. And I saw your video and I was right there with you, man. I didn't expect his death to affect me like that. And it did. I didn't sleep for like 3 days. Just could not sleep. It just felt wrong. And I didn't even know the guy. I'd never met him, you know, but he led me back to church. You know, I was a teenager. I lived a life of blasphemy. And 2 years ago, just watching enough Charlie Kirk, I was like, you know, I think this is the way. And I'm not, even today, I'm not a believer in God, but I feel like those are my people. Those are the people I want to be around. You know, and I appreciate the morals, and I'm open to it. And actually, so the day Charlie was shot, I was on a walk with my daughter and I found this coin on the ground. And around the outside it says, I got it written down, John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. And that was 20 minutes later, my dad called me and said, Charlie Kirk was just killed.
So we've been talking a little bit about coincidence and things like that. Do you think that was a coincidence? Do you think it was divine that you found that coin before that to kind of remind you of keep a steadfast approach, or?
I don't know, but it has the 10 commandments on one side, and on the other side, it has a bit more. But I tell you what, I've been keeping it in my pocket ever since.
We got to be smart. Like, obviously, if you study ancient history, if a vile government takes over and destroys opponents, it will erase them from history. So there is always the risk that if we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and keep doing what we think is right, uphold the virtues, the U.S. Constitution, that we would lose, and that the evil victors would erase us from history completely, and it would all be forgotten and for naught. Perhaps there is that potential, but at the same time, to go out in a way that you believe may just inspire people to keep it going, and that's probably better than huddling. I actually said that today on a video, and it, again, without being redundant, because like repeating what I did on a video earlier today on another video is like, did you see the video? Whatever. But like going out in a huddled terror is not the way I want not the imprint I want to leave on the world. But we do have to be smart at the same time.
Yeah.
You know,
Smart and vigilant.
Tactical.
Smart and vigilant, but stay true to the principles that have gotten us to this point.
I agree. I don't want to take up too much time, but I have two more things I want to say. Okay. So in regards to, you guys were talking earlier about Charlie being nice, but not kind, or vice versa.
I'll own it. I said it technically, but yeah.
Okay. So one thing I always tell my daughter is that kindness is not always kindness. You have people that will placate morbidly obese people and tell them they're just fine. That's kindness with air quotes, but that's not real kindness. You know what I mean? So
yeah, because you're not really helping those people by telling them that.
Right. And so that's what I think Charlie was spreading kindness, but it just didn't feel that way to the people that felt attacked, because they're stuck with, I don't know how to say this, just with the life that they've lived and the things they've been told.
Yeah, he was tough love the whole way. With me too, face to face. I love the guy. But he wouldn't be like, "Hey, fat ass, you're fat." He wouldn't like say that. He'd be like, "You can be thin, and here's how." Right. That's the kind.
Exactly.
You know.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
No, that is exactly. That's it. That's the differential between kindness and wrath, or whatever the opposite of kindness. I think it's wrath. Is there's two ways to try and get through to someone. One is you can beat them over the head with their problem. The other way is you can show them the solution. And he was very solution oriented.
And that goes back to the truth isn't always pretty, but sometimes it's exactly what you need to hear. And that's right. The reality of what Charlie did. He was telling people things that people needed to hear. And unfortunately, it fell on a lot of deaf ears. But he was also trying to educate what seemed like a large following of people who did not want to be told that they were wrong about anything that they believed in. So he took on a pretty big chore, a pretty big task. I think he handled it as well as anybody could be expected to handle it. And that's the inspiration that personally I want to keep going forward. It's just in that face of adversity that he just kept doing what he did, and he was good at it.
Yeah. And then my last thing is a question I've had for Ian for a very long time. And I never thought I'd have the opportunity to ask him. So I'm a big believer in meditation too. Meditation got me off of any medications that I had been on. And I thought it was hippy dippy mumbo jumbo before that, but it really works. And it's made me a much better person. But how do you maintain that peace within yourself, considering your time on Timcast with all the political news and the bad that you hear? Because there was a long time where I had to stop watching Timcast because it was affecting, my inner peace. But eventually that didn't feel right either, because then I was out of the know, and it's better to know than to not know.
I think that I had a very similar crash out during that period where I basically got rid of all social media and didn't actually bring any of those accounts back until I actually got here and started working for IWL, because I needed that kind of that break too mentally. During that time, it just felt very like something very, very heavy was in the air riding on your shoulders every day you woke up, even if it didn't directly involve you, it did. And I think sometimes mentally you need to take those steps away, whether it means pausing your accounts, not looking at them, throwing your phone in the corner for a weekend. I like to do that sometimes. Just, if whatever comes in, I'll deal with it on Monday. Sometimes just getting your mind out of that is everything that you need to be able to go a little bit further and take, the pressures and the abuse of the modern day world and keep moving on, with if nothing more than like a half-assed smile on your face. Because that's what's expected of a lot of people nowadays. Just bear the burdens and keep moving on. So I think that was a necessary thing that you did, man. And I get to missing that calling and being out of the loop too, and being like, okay, shit, maybe I should get back on, and try to find out what's going on, taking your finger off the pulse of society, and missing what's going on out there. But every now and then we're in a time right now where we're all so connected, by the internet and by social media and things like that, that you're experiencing a life that, 30, 40 years ago would have never been seen. Being exposed to mass amounts of people that no one had ever been exposed to before. No one's ever been connected like this ever. So we're entering a stage, and have been in a stage for a while, where we need mental breaks. Otherwise it can be so much that it just causes you to go insane.
I had a similar experience, 2023. I basically, when I was the co-host with me and Tim, were doing it 5 days a week, and I essentially I could sense I was about to have a nervous breakdown, and I went up into Tim's office one day and I was like, dude, I'm about to lose my fucking mind. I can't do this right now. I can't. I'm losing my shit. It was some personal stuff. I'd broken up with my girlfriend at the time, and had just really was dark, and my dark energy was affecting the show. I could feel it. And he's so he's such a deeply amazing human being underneath. Like it's I don't want to say you don't know, but I don't know if you haven't spent time with him, if you'll ever really know, or if you can know what a kind guy he is. Like, you see it when he's with little kids and with animals, non-human animals. And he was like, he prioritized my physical health first, and I kind of bounced for a while. I took like a couple months off and went to Miami with Luke and did the cleanse. Ultimately, it led me to the intestinal cleanse, and I was like, I want to do ayahuasca. And my friend who was like worked with shaman were like, well, you should do a cleanse, because people want to go do the thing. Like, it's a process. It's part of a process of healing. You need to heal yourself, and it starts with cleanse. And that helped my mind a lot. But now I'm in a state. And then Hannah Claire came and joined for a while, and then Phil came and joined, and now Phil's takes that spot. And there's still like, Ian, anytime you want to do fifth chair, come in and sit anytime. And I know, and Tate's there now, and Tate likes to do fifth chair a lot. So I kind of just defer to whoever wants to be there, but I've committed to at least one day a week. and I still pay attention to what's happening, but I really try and get my brain healthy so that when I'm there, I can be my best.
Gotcha.
Oh, hey, man.
All right. Well,
I was going to say, we're going to
Go
get
ahead.
to another caller here, but do you have anything you want to shout out here before we let you go?
the last thing I want to say is that they say Ian rolls a lot of 1s or 20s, but Tim rolls a lot of 7s. So,
Ooh, you can rely on Tim. And that's because I'm a critical thinker for critical misses or critical hits.
Hey, man, proficiency bonus is everything.
Give me that +8.
exactly.
+8.
It's all about the proficiency
It's
bonus,
been
in my
nice.
opinion. You can have a shitty roll. If that proficiency bonus is high enough, you're going to have success.
+20, baby.
Yeah. Dirty
Yeah.
20s or 20s, too. So, well, hey, man, we appreciate
right.
you calling in,
Good
man.
talking to you guys.
See you, man.
Have a good night.
You too.
Part of me, I was like, I wasn't really forcing myself to get emotional there, but I was like kind of holding that tunnel open.
It's easy to get worked up talking about this stuff, too.
Dude, sometimes, yeah.
We're all human, man. Like, everybody's got emotions. Everybody's got it's elasticity when you come right down to it. The ability to stretch out and come back.
I do
to
a lot
that
of
fixed position without breaking.
I do a lot of sauna now. That helps me keep my head clear. That's really good.
I feel like you're just out doing exotic things all the time when you're not here.
Pretty much,
Like
dude.
I like to think about what Ian's doing at this, but I'll be sitting at home like, I wonder what Ian's doing right now, and you're just like touching a rainbow on a mountaintop
Ooh, that's
somewhere
cool.
in like a pair of bell-bottom jeans. Did you see the Sydney Sweeney thing that had you on it? It was
Yeah.
like great jeans, and you were on the
Epic.
billboard.
Yeah, it was perfect.
I was like, what the hell? That was
about right.
That blew my mind, and I was like, I wonder. I literally thought for a whole entire 5 seconds, did Ian actually do that?
I think a lot of people thought it was real. That was AI, by the way.
Until obviously until I saw that you also had a full set of breasts, and that wasn't,
That's true. And
haven't seen those.
I'm much hairier.
and they
my
appear to be
stomach.
gone now, so I don't think you went through all that.
Nope,
Just for
never had 'em
a picture.
removed.
Okay. Well, tonight has been awesome. Like, comment, subscribe, share. This has been great. It's been awesome talking to you guys. I want to try to get to one more person with the amount of people we have in this waiting room right now. I want to say that we did our best to get to everybody that we could. The rest of you guys, I will make a very long list of who did not get on the show tonight and work to get you guys on again in the future soon. So without any more ado, let's go to Jordan. Let's bring Jordan on the show.
Hi, Jordan.
Jordan, you are muted, but you are on the show.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, welcome to the program.
Wow, I'm excited I got picked.
Now, what's
Rock
going
and
on tonight,
roll.
man?
So earlier in the show, one of you had brought up predestination and said that you were sort of conflicted, that you had trouble with the idea that there was an outside force kind of moving everything around. And
I'm the one that has the control issues.
okay.
That's me. I'm straight up. I have the control issues.
Okay, all right. Sorry, I don't know your name. I'm a first-time caller.
Brandon. That's
My name is Brandon.
Brandon. Okay, first-time watcher, first-time caller.
Hey, cool.
Welcome, man.
But so I think I can help you with that a little bit. So basically, what I perceive our reality to be is that we are sort of like a people who, eons ago or whatever you want to say, we kind of enacted this pact of creation to answer a question. And when we did this ritual enactment of creation, we sort of fragmented ourselves into, I believe, everything. Like physically, you could say like every atom or, up quark and down quark or whatever you want to call it. But reality is sort of hylomorphic, right? So it's physical, metaphysical, and superphysical all at the same time. And that's kind of getting into the weeds. Maybe we can do that. But as far as the predestination question goes, I think you, Brandon, are both puppeteer and puppet, right? So I think Ian was saying maybe there's like a reality. He sees reality as sort of like a blanket and we're just kind of like crawling on it,
Yeah.
I think all the movement on the blanket has like sort of the die's been cast, it's already happened. And to us, in our like perception of time, we see the movement in what we would describe as real time, but really like it's already sort of been determined how it's going to happen. Now, I also paradoxically believe that you still have free will. I think that the universe is both deterministic and you still have free agency. I think anything that is really true, like at a basic level and a fundamental level, that we're all subservient to, anything that's truth is always paradoxical, but that's also another rabbit hole. But yeah, man, I think that you have designed collectively with all of us as part of the original conscious like Godhead that we were. You have designed your own path iteratively throughout, whatever you're experiencing right now. So I think you are the force that you fear might be controlling you, which I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but
I mean, it's crazy because I'm wrapping my head around that, and if it's that type of a situation, I'm okay with it. It's not that I don't want something to be in control. I want me to be in control.
Yeah.
I want to know at the end of the day that I made those decisions, even if I fucked up. I want to know I made those decisions. That was me. It wasn't predetermined. The causality of this is my own making. And that's how I want to live my life. Knowing that I made the decisions that I made and there's no one else to blame for them or to celebrate with them, but me. And
I think there's deep meaning in your perspective. And I think there's deep meaning in the process itself. That's sort of what I call is the process. My personal theory for what the question that we're trying to answer is something like, is it worth it to exist? And the only way to answer that question is to have every iteration of existence happen, right, in space-time. So once everything that can happen does happen, then we'll sort of collapse back into the ultimate, like, homogeneous Godhead that we are all, like, fractal fractions of. And the other question that you guys had kind of brought up was manifestation. Ian, you do talk about manifestation a lot. I've seen you on Timcast here and there. And I think it's important to remember that reality is hylomorphic. And so you have like the physical plane, and then you have like the metaphysical plane, and then you have like what you would call maybe the super physical plane. And we all co-create reality through observation. And so when you observe something on any of these three planes, what happens is it's kind of like a field of cogs that, everybody who makes an observation injects a cog into the overall, machinery, and how that cog then, affects everything else. It all happens sort of instantaneously, but everyone is doing this, right? So, and we're all part of this like greater whole. So like when you look at your hand and you say like, oh, okay, those are the phalanges, here's the, carpals and the metacarpals, all that's like arbitrary distinction. Really what you're looking at is your body, and we just sort of inject our own perception of what like each bone is, but really it's one whole cohesive unit. And in that same way, that's what sort of reality is to me. Like, and I think the way that we perceive reality, like, everyone is co-creating everything at the same time, and when so much energy gets put into like a specific instance of space-time, that's when you have like physicality. That's what we would call material. And then, metaphysicality is still shapeable, right? So I think the idea that you can consciously actively manifest is wrong personally. I think in my own experience, I have felt that the more power and like intention you give away, the more the things around you will coalesce to like give you the thing that you want anyway. So I was curious what you thought about the idea that letting go of your intentionality would actually hand you the results that you would rather see, whether you know it or not.
Yeah, it's like dropping a stone in a pond. It sends out ripples. Then you have to be still and silent and let go of intentionality for those ripples to ripple. If you keep dropping stones in, if you keep having intention, it distorts the ripular result, the cohesive effect that you're looking for.
Well, it's like they say too that every reaction has an equal or opposite reaction, right? So no matter what decision you make, no matter what you do, there is going to be a cause and effect of something else that is going to come from that situation, whether intended or not. That's basically a rule of the universe.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
You
And
know,
do you feel that? So you were talking about Hurricane Ian earlier. Do you feel that it's wrong to keep dropping stones and like trying to influence, events like outside of your perhaps understanding or
Yeah, maybe, because I've noticed with eye contact, if you make eye contact with someone and you hold it, it's cool. If you look at them and then look away and then look back and look away and look back, it's really
100%.
disruptive. So it could be the same thing with focus. If you're focused on if you focus for 7 hours straight uninterrupted, it's going to have like a big stone got dropped in the lake.
are
Right.
you? So are you, caller? Are you suggesting that like sometimes it's better to not create the ripples in the pond? Is that what you're saying? Is it smarter to try to affect and create these ripples in the pond, or is it better to leave the water still?
I think collectively you can create like great change, right? And so like talking about like recent news, with Charlie Kirk, for example, like I think like he spurred on a lot of people to do something like good, it's like to go out and actually do something active, in a way that hopefully doesn't reflect like leftist activism, but time will tell. But yeah, I think in my personal anecdotal experience, when I was at my sort of most divine, so to speak, and I was just like letting go of I got rid of like everything and got rid of all my, clothes, material, like stuff, like everything. And just total, like, I still to this day wear a monk's habit, when I get the chance, instead of like wearing, whatever clothes might be comfortable. Like when I let go of all of my attachments, I really felt like the universe or God or the process or whatever you want to call it was really giving me the things that I would have wanted had I known, or the things that I, did sort of want, but like intentionally put aside and became more selfless and was like, I'm not going to pursue this thing, and the universe would give it to me anyway. And it's always in the most like synchronous sort of ways that blow your mind and like constantly humble you and give you this sort of ecstatic connection with the infinite, right? And so yeah, I think personally for me it feels more morally poignant and important, and you can almost say just to just kind of like let go of a lot of the strife and things that, like, because we cause so much suffering, and you have to be cognizant of the amount of suffering that you create in the world, like at every point, to the degree that you're able, like with a mortal mind. So I think if you're asking yourself the question a lot of how much suffering is this action going to create, then you're probably doing a good job, as long as you're asking the question. But if you just like navigate through the system that we have, the process, without like really understanding what you're doing to people, and like without having any sort of care, I think you can do more harm than good. So if you're not inclined to be cognizant of the suffering that you're creating, then yes, I think you should not try to influence things, and you should do everything you can to detach from the things that you care about. But if you are inclined to like change for good, that perception will be a cog that goes into the process that helps shape things for the better.
I noticed with ego, I used to think it was my ego that was going to make me famous and successful. And lately I've realized, like, I think the last time I was here, I was like, I don't want to be more famous. I don't want that anymore. I told you that. I don't want to, I was telling Brandon that. That's my ego actually holding me back. It's like,
yeah, I get that a lot from you, to be honest.
And to let go of that control is like, inevitably I'm going to do what I love, which is this. And if you're making TV shows, you're going to be famous. Like, that's the way, TV shows work if they're good.
Yeah, yeah. The most 20s that you roll to me are when you're just like, I think this is the thing. Like, you come at it from a point of humility, right? And you're like usually responding to what someone else is saying. And you're like, well, it could be this or it could be that. And like, I think sometimes the other guests are intentionally obtuse when it comes to kind of the things that you say. And I'm like, oh no, I hear you'll say something. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm totally on this guy's wavelength. And then everybody else is like, no. But those are the 20s for me, man, is when you really like come at whatever the conversation topic is from a place of true humility. And you're like, I don't want to influence the outcome either way, but could be a possibility. I think those are really good. I think that's what you bring to the table.
And I think you should always be aware of the inverse and the direct repercussions of your actions always. There are a lot of people that are just blatantly just don't pay attention to any of that stuff, and they just react or they just do, without worrying about what kind of effects they're having on, you know, themselves, the family around them, the people that surround them, you know, and ultimately, you know, the world. There are always going to be people like this, and I think the best thing that we can do is just try to, as a people, keep that common mind of just being aware of what the things that you're doing. You know, that there's this, you know, cheesy ass saying, "Be the change you want to see in the world." It's not so cheesy when you really break it down and understand that passing that to the next person and having that person pass that along to the next people, you know, and having that go is the chain that creates a group of people that are like-minded, and that can help this planet, you know, help this country, help themselves, help their neighbors, you know, and that needs to continue ultimately above everything, in my opinion. We need that.
You were saying how we're all like feeding these cogs into this quantum mechanical. I'm kind of recreating your words in my own way, but that like we're all into the superstructure. So Nassim Haramein, second time I brought this scientist up, he did this paper called the Schwarzschild proton, where he mathematically found that every proton was actually, well, at the center of every proton was a black hole, and every proton was actually two protons revolving around each other at the speed of light. So you only ever see one of them. But what they're doing is they're depositing information into the entire vacuum of space-time, and then at the speed of light, returning you a local calculation. Right. So every proton in the universe is feeding information into all of the universal space-time, and then it's doing a massive calculation, and every local environment within the universe is being fed a local result.
Yeah. Creation flows ever outward from points of conscious observation. So when you look at a point, and I'm not a physicist or scientist or anything like that, I don't read those people, but when you look at a point in what you would call maybe space-time, is what's happening is every sort of conscious influence on that point is creating something. And the thing that is created, you know, is the thing that has the most influence. Right. So like the reason politics exists so strongly, it's this towering obelisk just over all of our heads, is because everybody's thinking about it all the time. So that particular sort of psycho quantum construction, whatever you want to call it, it's so large that you can't look away from it. Right. It's just like always there. And we're all just kind of like kneeling at the altar of it. And attention is worship. So the things that you pay attention to are the things that become sort of the gods that dominate the shared consciousness. You would maybe call it like a field of consciousness. Those are those are the gods that we create. Like you simultaneously create gods as they then influence the world around you. So it's this sort of feedback loop of, you know, creator, created, observer, observed.
So if you pay attention to nothing and you have an empty mind, it's the humility that allows the rest of the universe to formulate the Godhead for you, and then gives you.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I mean, you can picture sort of. I have two models for reality actually that I've sort of puzzled out, and if you picture sort of like a sphere, since you like spheres so much, if you picture sort of a sphere, and then a kind of boiling spring coming out of that, but there's variability in how far horizontally the spring extends. Right, sometimes it'll be very close to itself, and sometimes it'll be very far. And then all of that sort of comes back and coalesces into yet another sphere, right? The lower sphere would be like the original conscious Godhead, which then fragments into the coil. And the horizontal movement of the coil would be something like variability and complexity. And the more of that horizontal movement there is, it's kind of like these death throes of the process, because the more complex the things that you're experiencing are, the more iterative types of conscious experience exist in those times. So we're accelerating the process, which will answer the question of, is it worth it to exist? And in my view, and when they're closer together, things are a little bit more simple. And then if you were to if you were to put a point on the coil, and then go directly down to another part of the coil that's directly aligned, so it's in the future, like to go up on the coil would be go into the future. If you put a point on the coil and then go up to the same point on the coil, but in the future, that's where history rhymes because the complexity is at a similar spot in the process.
Yeah,
right.
I made a YouTube video called the Spirangulation of the Quantum Universe. I think it's on YouTube. Spirangulation, if you look it up, because I picture everything spiraling forward, and not only that coil may expand as well.
It does.
Yeah,
it does.
All right,
and
boys,
contract.
we're gonna have to end it there. We're getting past the hour here, but Jordan, you got anything you want to shout out?
The one thing that I would say is, in regards to Charlie Kirk, since we're all doing that tonight, I would say one thing. I think that as much as we would all like to see his killer face immediate justice, it is my perception that Charlie would actually prefer that he get multiple life sentences without parole in prison, because at least then he has a chance to come back to God. And in that way, Charlie will have saved yet another soul. So I haven't really seen anybody say that. And I think that since I have some kind of platform, probably for the first and last time, I would like to put that sentiment out there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Heard loud and clear. That's an interesting perspective I haven't heard yet either myself. But we appreciate you calling in, man. Thanks. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Have a good one.
See you, man.
All right. So, big thanks to everyone who called in tonight. I wrote as many names down as I could before people jumped ship out of there. So if you guys want to call back later in the week, we're here Wednesday and Thursday too, till midnight, 10 to midnight Eastern time. Feel free to call us back. I'll see if I can get you in. Big, massive thank you to Ian Crossland for coming out and helping host the show. Ian, get us out of here. Tell us where we can find you.
Thank you so much, Brandon. I am at Ian Crossland. You'll find me all over the internet at Ian Crossland. You can follow me on YouTube, even Facebook if you want to. Twitter, I got that's X, of course, for you newbies, you new ones, and Instagram. Anywhere on the internet, hit me up, follow me. Wonderful conversation, Brandon. Thanks, man. This has been really, really exotic.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you being here, helping me out again. For Shane Cashman and Alex Ayala, I am Brandon Miner saying so long from Slippery When Wet, West Virginia. We thank you guys so much for calling in and hanging out. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share the show with everybody that you know, and we will see you back here tomorrow for more weirdness. Thanks. Have a good night.